No, there's one more panel.
Okay, so will our panelists, our school safety panelists, please come up to the stage?
Yeah, we'd love to. I'm very
And Angelique?
They don't make it do it.
Okay, we're just waiting on Chief Lauren. And before our panel, we're going to have words of inspiration. Okay, we're going to get started with some inspiring words from Angelique Creations.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Come on, y'all can do better than that. If I waited this long, then we can do a little bit better than that. First of all, clap it up for yourselves, clap it up for being here this afternoon, clap it up for waking up this morning. Y'all know it is Black History Month, right? Just in case anybody forgot. So, I want to remind the youth especially about being flexible. And I don't have a lot of time. So I'm going to try to speak, and then if you like what I have to hear, I want to just share something with you right after. Is that okay? But we're going to interact a little bit, because that's what I do. I don't do this for the money. I don't do this for the cameras. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a broke poet. But I do this for the love of the youth, because I truly believe that you all speak the truth, and if it wasn't for you all, I wouldn't want to go to work. So I'm going to ask you, does everyone in this room have visions, dreams, and goals? Yeah, it sound like it. Does everyone in this room have visions, dreams, and goals? Yes. All right, so can y'all help me with this? I need y'all to say it with me every time I point to you. Is that okay? 1, 2, 3.
Visions, dreams, and goals.
Let's try one more time. 1, 2, 3.
Visions, dreams, and goals.
You are in control, and it is time to manifest your
Visions, dreams, and goals.
For the Father up above have given kings the tools, allowing queens like you to carry a child in your womb, giving birth to this new generation that has been sanctioned to forget their.
Visions, dreams, and goals.
So it is left up to us to entrust. And every sister and brother to your left and to your right, despite the differences that we may face, it is time to put forth our best efforts and fight to stop the shooting, the racism, and the white supremacy, but not with hate, with love, education, you see. Stop and think for 1 second. What are y'all?
Visions, dreams, and goals.
The one thing that we all have in common are
Visions, dreams, and goals.
and the need to plant a seed and watch it grow and succeed against all odds. It's not hard if we all become masters at weathering the storm. You see these kings and these queens in this auditorium, we can and we will keep things calm. We have the victory. It is already written in our history. Although sometimes it is deep, deep, deep down in your soul, but your goals meet your visions and your dreams, and although you may may see and experience negativity, it is the passion for your goals that allows your vision to dream. Aiming higher, to inspire an entire planet, the here and the afterlife. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, they are your
Visions, dreams, and goals.
so you hold them tightly. You manifest them. And watch, they will grow. Because only you will truly know. Rest in peace, like Sandra Bland. If you really give it your absolute very best. Thank you so much. And before I go, I just wanted to say something. It will be 2 minutes. I cut the poem so I can say this part. To the people that were here that are part of the Department of Education, there are people like me that are teaching artists and performing artists that are in some schools, but we could be in more schools because we need people that look like us in these schools. So don't just get the budgets and decide you're going to do just, I don't know, whatever you want. The kids need to know about technology. They need to know about Web3 technology that is being introduced. We're in Web 2 right now. Everyone here should have their phone on silent. It should be just the little things that we know when we're coming into a place. I saw people here that weren't paying attention. So don't talk about it, really be about it. If you're not a part of the solution, you are a part of the problem. If there's any youth here that is interested in writing or becoming a doctor, I have connections for you. You can follow me at KYANGELIC. There are jobs out there for you right now. I'm looking at you. There are jobs out there for you right now. There are people that have funding for you. But if you don't know about it, then you don't know what to do about it. Once again, Angelic Creations with the K. Creations is spelled with the K. If you want to follow me, KYANGELIC. I have the information. Reach out. I will respond. It takes a village, but you got to do your part. Please, peace and blessings, everyone. Ashe, ashe.
Thank you so much. So, we're gonna get started on our school safety panel. Just so that, you are aware, we have a slight change to the program. Following this, we were supposed to have our parent and community panel, but we're running out of time and our permit is supposed to end at 4 o'clock, so we're gonna be pushing it with this panel, but we will not be able to have the parent and community panel because our permit is running out. So I want to just quickly say thank you to our parent and community panel members for being here. And before I start this panel, just if you could please stand up so I can acknowledge you and thank you for all of your work you are doing. So we'll get started. Benjamin Morden, the President of Community Education Council District 2, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your support. Mr. Morden is a founder of Her Move Next, which is a great chess program for students, for young female students. So please, if you're interested in chess, please speak to Mr. Morden. I also want to acknowledge Karen Wang, high school students. She is the president of Citywide Council on High Schools. Turn around, because if you have a problem in your school, Karen Wang is the person to talk to. As you hear, she says, please get in touch with her. I also want to thank Yatin Chu with Asian Wave Alliance and Place NYC, which is a parent advocacy group and a long-time supporter of the coalition. Thank you, Yatin. And of course, Lord Marin, who is one of our founding members of the coalition, who is actually one of the CEC presidents of District 2, as well as a place member. And I want to acknowledge our school safety agents. Listen, we are on a WhatsApp group and we communicate all the time, every day, throughout the day. They were working today. They finished work because their buildings were open and they came down here. So I want to acknowledge my other ride or die agents, Polanco, Nicholas Polanco, Nick, you gotta because you make this happen. Novella Glenn, Novella, thank you. Charlene Singleton, where's Charlene? Ah, there's Charlene. And then I also want to acknowledge Agent Blackwell back there, who, gives me a lot of insight, as well as Agent Welch, Barbara Welch, too. And a major shout out to our explorers, and of course all of our youth. We love you, thank you. So let's, I forgot one person, another founding member of the coalition, Dong Wee. Dong Wee, can you stand up? So just for people to understand, the coalition is diverse because what's happening affects every community in the city and every school in the city. It doesn't matter where you live, from Staten Island to the Bronx, it affects us all. So we're gonna get started on our final panel. And to our youth, if you have any questions, I want you to address the panel and let them know what your questions are. But I think there are some updates that Chief Laren and others are going to share with you about how they are taking what's happening seriously. So we're going to start with introductions. If we could do a minute introduction of each of the panels, starting with Waywa Chin, who is with PCAGNY, also one of the longtime founding supporters of the coalition.
Hi, thank you very much, Mona. It's splendid to be here. This was tremendous, and I want to acknowledge Mona because she can't acknowledge herself. I'm with the Chinese American Citizens Alliance of Greater New York, and we're not just about Chinese Americans. We're about all Americans. We're about education. We're about safety for everyone. So when we're talking about the schools here, we recognize that in the last couple of years, it's really become a zoo. Bullying is up. You're afraid to go to the schools on the way back and forth, whether you're walking on the streets, whether you're taking the subways, and then inside the schools, it's been a lot worse. And we're concerned about the funding of the police. We're concerned about the legislation. Those are things that we care about, but I'm running ahead of myself. We're going to talk about this more going down.
I'm Tony Powell. I'm Deputy Director of Teams Local 237. I represent school safety. And as you know, schools are understaffed. We need more school safety agents. They are burnt out. They're working 5-6 days a week. But we hope moving forward this will get better. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hi everyone, my name is Andy Shibney. I'm the newly appointed Assistant Commissioner of School Safety at the NYPD. In this role, I oversee a lot of different aspects of the division, but in particular the budget and various strategic initiatives. One of the goals that I have is to, as Charlie pointed out, increase the school safety agent headcount. That number has taken a serious hit over the last 2 years, so I'm going to work with the administration to ensure that we can continue to have the optimum number of agents in every school. One of the other things that I want to look at is increasing the budget to ensure that our school safety agents have all the resources they need to continue doing the great work that they do in every school. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Martin Laren, I'm in charge of school safety, and I know we don't have much time on this set, so I'd really be interested in hearing from you guys. What do you guys want to see and hear from us as the school safety division? So, thank you.
My name is Mark Rampersad, and I am Chief in charge of Safety, Security, and Prevention Partnerships in New York City Department of Education. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, panelists, for that introduction. So I want to, I want to tackle this crisis head on. So I'm going to come to Mark Rampersand and Chief Laren with this. With what happened this week in Brooklyn, by the Grand Street campus, on Bushwick and Graham, by Williamsburg Charter High School as well, down the road, down the street on Bushwick. What steps is the Department of Education and NYPD School Safety now taking to protect our students and our school community? So we'll start, I don't know which one of you want to start off first.
Well, thank you very much for that question. And first, before we get started, I'd like to just acknowledge, if I may, I'd like to acknowledge our explorers in the room. Our explorers. Outside of being explorers, these are students. Stand up, guys. Stand up. Don't be shy. Right? The reason why I ask these young men and young ladies to stand up is simply because these are New York City Public School students. These are the very students that we talk about we need to protect from the dangerous elements outside. And the minute we start to talk about the activity of young people outside, I want to be perfectly clear. We're not talking about every young person, right? We're not talking about every young person. No New York City Public School trains or teaches young people to act in a way that's unacceptable for our school communities, right? And it is always interesting to me when I hear the question, what is New York City Public Schools going to do to keep our kids safe? And I always take that question and I point it back at the members who are asking me that very question, and I ask you, what are we going to do to keep our young people safe? Right? We often talk about the village. Well, the school is a part of the village. The school is not absent the village. The school is full of teachers, principals, administrators, paraprofessionals, school safety agents, who themselves are vital members of our village because they live in the very village where they serve. So when the question is asking me, what is New York City Public Schools doing to keep young people safe? I would say to you, it is a collaborative effort to ensure the safety and security for our students. And that is not only all of the educators in the building, our school safety agents, our school custodians, our lunch lady, right? Our dietitian, our school aides, our paraprofessionals. And it's not absent our community. It's not absent our parent partners. It's not absent our merchants partners. And it's not absent our faith-based organizations. But we went one further under the umbrella of this chancellor and this mayor. And we reached out to the community to hire 138 community-based organizations. I wish, man, first of all, thank you very much for leading that charge. Yeah, it's Pivot Initiative, right? I don't want to sell this Pivot Initiative short, right? Because we continue to talk about the village. Well, they are the village. These community-based organizations are the village who are outside doing the work, many of which have been doing the work without being paid. Many have been doing the work for years and decades without being paid, right? To stand outside and hear a mom say, do you know how it feels to have your child taken from you? No, we don't. Right? But we stand side by side, arm in arm with you as you grieve the loss of. And I commend every single one of those parents who stand up and say, while I am grieving, I am also standing here to fight. Right? And when you say, what is New York City Public Schools doing to keep kids safe? I can tell you all about all of the different initiatives that we have in schools. I can tell you about the 500 social workers, guidance counselors that we've hired to ensure that our young people have someone who they can go to and they can talk to. I can tell you about the 9 firearms confiscated in our schools, 8 of which were confiscated as a result of a young person seeing something and saying something. Right? What that is that is an establishment of a cohesive, caring relationship between young people and adults. Right? We can't sell our New York City Public Schools short. We have bad actors, right? And that is not a true representation of 850,000 young people. Some of which who are sitting right here, right in front of us now. And these are not the bad actors that we're concerned about, right? And when we start to talk about ways by which we reach young people, We have to put our heads together and talk about how we reach the young people that are not in the room on Saturday. That are not in the room on Saturday. I hear you, right? And so we don't absent our parent partners. We don't absent our community partners. We don't absent the very people who interact with our young people when they walk out the door. So I hear you loud and clear when you say 850 Grand Street. Well, the kids went to 850 Grand Street, but the incident happened in the community, right? And so we can talk about all of these individual incidents that occur outside of the building, right? These horrible, horrific things are happening in the community. The very community where these young people live, their families live, and the places where they feel the most comfortable, right? But the place where they go to seek refuge and support and food and mental health supports and social emotional supports is the school. And I think we're doing a heck of a job of doing that work. We are not patting ourselves on the back and we're not taking a victory lap. But we're also not going to put our heads down in shame to say that we're not doing the work, right? We can do better. This entire city can do better. Right? And the minute we start taking the defense, when we hear some of what you're doing, I'm not shying away from what we're doing. I am saying we can do better. We have a whole lot more that we can do, right? We can blame it on the pandemic all we want. The pandemic's over. We can blame it on everything we want, but what we can do is we can come together and we can fight this cause as a community, as opposed to separate and apart. Thank you.
Thank you. And Chief Larry?
Yeah, so Ms. Davis, as you know, when you invited us to this panel today, we spoke, and this goes even before the horrific events of this week in Brooklyn. The week of Reverend Martin Luther King holiday was a very, very bad week for young people citywide. We actually lost 2 young people completely in the Bronx, outside of the PA, and also in Brooklyn. And last night, it seems like it's not over in Brooklyn. There's another shooting involved with people. But if you've seen and if you've heard, the police department has taken steps to increase the number of youth coordination officers in every precinct. Each precinct had 2. Now every precinct is going to have 6. So these precincts will have many school teams, per se, that are tasked with making those inroads with the administrators, with the teachers, and not just public schools. We spoke outside with the parochial schools, with the charter schools, and private schools. So what the mayor is asking is for the chancellor and our police commissioner, they speak every week, sometimes more than that. But on the ground, the precinct commanders are mandated to connect with the school principals so that they can see where the issues are. Because we believe, to use this reference, where there's smoke, there's going to be fire.
Yeah.
And we do have the greatest detectives in the world, right? They'll catch the person who did it, but what we want is to prevent it in the first place. And the way that we prevent active violence is for people to come forward and tell us that something may happen. And our school safety agents are very good at handling situations with finesse, with being delicate, because they know the kids, they love the kids, and when something happens to one of them, they feel it very deeply. So I would like to commend our school safety agents here in this room. And I said it outside before we came in. We can't be successful without the community mobilizing. The police department on its own cannot solve this problem in and of itself. We can't arrest our way out of the problem, nor do we want to. We want to support the young people with services that the DOE and other providers have in place.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to talk to Mr. Carter. We are understaffed, and some of our agents, feel like they're drowning at this point. Our co-founder, Brian Simpkins, who is supposed to be here, she's not here because there isn't any coverage for her building because they're so short-staffed. So, my question to Mr. Cotto is, what are you hearing from the agents? What do they need what type of support do they need, where are we when it comes to these numbers, and perhaps Chief Larry can also contribute to that. It takes 17 weeks to go through the training, so how are we going to catch up?
So, I don't know if you guys remember 2 years ago when there's a room of DOA taking over school safety, going back to school safety. Cause of that never happened. Cause of that put us behind the 8 ball. The classes put in place that didn't go in. So finally, they didn't go in. DOA stood for NYPD, and we got classes moving forward. My agents are burnt out. You have agents working by themselves with about 1,000 kids, which is impossible. And we need help. We need help. And I think they need to bring back a uniform task force to assist certain schools that are active and to patrol the safe passage corridor where kids come out of school, either go to the bus stop or they go to the train, have more patrol in those areas. So moving forward, I hope we can get the numbers. I don't know if we'll ever get to those numbers, but we're right behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Laren, and I'm sorry, your colleague, welcome. It's the first time we're engaging you, so I can't remember your name, but I can promise you're going to see and hear a lot of us in the future now that we know you're there too. And Chief Laren will tell you, we call a lot.
And that's fine, you're welcome now. I like your phone calls. So just to just give you the picture here. In 2020, we had 399 agents that separated from the department. And these categories are deceased, resignations, retirements, and just terminations. In 2021, that jumped to 693.
Wow.
And last year, 837.
Wow.
So every year, it's getting progressively worse where agents are choosing to move on. And it's a combination of things. It's discouragement, it's the pay, it's not being sure, if there's room for advancement. So these are things that we're talking to with our partners at the Teamsters, at the DOE, with the city. We would like to see salary increases. We would like to see the steps reduced from 7 years to 5 years for top pay. But we also want to make the experience better for our agents. And what we're doing now for the first time is our agents are going out to conduct a recruitment campaign to get folks to sign up for the next exam. The 5-year period ends this month on February 28th. There's going to be an exam in May. But really the only way to get more people to join is for agents to promote the work that they do. And believe it or not, a lot of agents love what they do because they're committed to the kids. It's not just a job, it's a ministry to a lot of them. It's a vocation to be able to connect to the kids. And what I've seen is story after story of schools where there's intergenerational agents, if I can call it that. So there's a senior agent, and then there's a brand new agent that'll say, I came on because of this person. They invested in me, they believed in me, and I chose to do this and pay it forward to other young people. That's really the only way, because in and of itself, the pay alone is not going to attract a lot of people to come and take this job. So we have to make it alluring for them and sell it as a vocation because our children are really in need right now.
If I may add on, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that under the leadership of Chief Laren, the drive, the push, the dedication by this team to get those numbers up. The Chancellor himself, who was a school safety officer, and he'll tell you on a regular basis, I, myself, was a school safety officer for a period of time, so I owe everything that I do, everything that I know about safety, to my time with the school safety division. So that's not, I don't take that lightly. And I asked to share the mic simply because I wanted to point out something else, right? I believe in giving people their flowers while they're in the room, right? And under the direction and leadership of Chief Laren, that dedicated team standing right there. the leadership of Commander Barbara Welch, has taken to the streets. They have taken to the streets. On the street, you're right, Dream Team 100%. They've taken to the streets themselves, equipped with iPads, to go directly to where the young people are, to tell them about school safety. They are at churches, they are at malls, they are at shopping centers, they are anywhere the young people are, to sign them up and tell them about the great work of our dedicated school safety agents, right? The pat on the shoulder is for every young person that they keep safe in our schools. And it is the dedication of those individuals right back there that goes sometimes unnoticed, right? They're not asking for applause, they're not asking for kudos, they're not asking for anything other than being simply recognized for taking the bull by the horn. They're not waiting for the city of New York to advertise for them. They're taking the fight to the street, they're advertising for themselves, and we should commend them for that work alone.
Thank you so much. You know, I have a question here for one of our founding members who's out with us at our events and our press conferences and our rallies. Rain or shine, you go on our website, you'll see Wayward there. I remember a few years ago, and probably perhaps Mark and Chief Lara may be aware, but you know, the importance of safe corridors. It was one of the summers, it was like the height of the violence against members of our Asian communities. And I remember that the Department of Education did safe corridors from schools where we had large, high populations of Asian families. This was just like not too long ago. So, I mean, this is just the importance of having those safe corridors. So, Wayward and Chief Lara and Mark, if you could speak to that.
Okay, the first thing is that I had mentioned before that we're very concerned about the ability of our kids to walk back and forth from home. And that really does affect everybody. Obviously, several years ago and still continuing now, there are targeted attacks against people for their race, what they look like. There shouldn't be attacks against people, period, okay? Whatever they look like. And so we have to stop that everywhere. The attacks against the Asians were bad, but we have to make sure that all of our communities, even if you don't have that many Asians over here, I don't think that there are tons over here on 127th Street, that shouldn't be happening. And having those safe corridors, having that kind of ability to know that these are the streets are safe for our kids to walk on, and have more presence of the police and the school officials, that is important, but it is also important that we capture back all our streets. So let's not stop there.
Yes, and most recently, our police commissioner, she tasked the chief of department to making sure that each precinct, housing, police service area, and transit district identify which are the areas where the kids congregate the most and where kids are most at risk of coming to harm. So we have those plans at the school safety division. We made it our business to collect that from them so that we can overlay our resources with them. We don't have a lot, but when we do have them, we want to be strategic about it and not just put them blindly out there. So one of the measures that we've implemented is our unannounced scanning team. We've been able to hold some of them on post-tour overtime and deploy them in corridors where we're seeing that smoke before it turns into fire. And we were successful just up here in Manhattan North, along the Amsterdam Avenue, Broadway corridor, with a string of schools there, where there were incidents that were happening off-site, not school incidents, things that are happening overnight, on the weekend, with kids that are drill rapping, calling each other out, but they happen to go to our schools. So it's on us too to take preventative measures to make sure that it doesn't visit the front steps of that school.
Thank you. And, you know, our newest addition, Andy, I'm gonna just go with Andy for now, to our school safety family. So you said that you're in charge of, was it budget, hiring? So let me ask you this, because like I said, school safety agents are mothers, they're grandmothers, you know, they also parents, grandparents of children in the system. And we have the shortage, and a very big factor that contributes to the shortage, and if I'm putting you on the spot, I apologize, but I have to keep it real, is the salary. So, you know, Mark talks about collaboration. We want our babies safe because Polanco, Singleton, Glenn are the front lines to protecting our children. But the salaries are so low, and I think that that really plays a big part in us being able to recruit more school safety agents, because even the mayor says we need more. So since you're the numbers man, how can we lend our collective voices and support you, or who do we have to go bang on the door and say, we need more money for school safety?
Right, so that's a great question. So oftentimes I'm asked, what can we do to increase the salaries for the agents? And this is one of the things that it's actually collectively bargained. So it's not like if I see an agent right now within our division that's doing above and beyond, and we want to give them a salary merit, it's prohibitive because it's collectively bargained. So in my experience, the ones that have some sort of influence over that would be the labor relations of the city, as well as the unions for the agent that represents the agent. So I think those voices, you know, everyone here within the school community can advocate on behalf of the agents, you know, to push the city to further have these talks, have these negotiations to increase the salaries, reduce that step from top pay at 7 years, as the chief pointed out, down to 5 years.
Yes.
That's going to make a big difference.
We want 3 years.
Even better, even better. So, you know, that's something that's definitely going to help with our overall recruitment. As we talked about Barbara Welch, her team is doing a great job, and we're getting people to take that exam. But, you know, it will be a little bit more lucrative if people understood that the salary is a bit higher.
Yes.
And that's something that all together we have to push and strive for. 3 years max. That would be
What's the
fantastic.
starting salary?
35,000.
Well, okay, so Irene just started the any questions session, so I'm gonna come downstairs so that the audience can ask their questions, and then after that, we can close very nicely. So, I'm gonna bring the mic down.
I don't need mine. Are you not the labor person, the union rep for the school safety?
I represent school safety. The way it works is the negotiation team created, and when it's time is right, we negotiate.
When's the time right?
We haven't met with the city yet.
Today is the time, what time?
When the time is right, and you know, our agents will know. Right now, the concern in the city is healthcare. So, when the time is right, we will let our school safety agents.
What union? Are you a Teamster?
Teams is local 237.
Okay, once a Teamster, always a Teamster. I was one of the first Teamsters in, a black woman worked for UPS. They had all men there. Now I am a teacher and a director and an assistant principal. And we need, to get more money. I'm gonna talk to the top people in the Teamsters. We need to help our children. These are our present and our future. We spend money. The budget for New York is bigger than the budget for several countries. We need to spend our money on our children. Okay? So I'm an advocate for our children.
Thank you.
They have anxiety, they're afraid, they're depressed, you know, they're taking their own lives. These are our most valuable resource, is our children.
Karen Wynn from Citywide Council on High Schools. Let's see if your voice is gonna carry.
I just had a question about the hiring of the school committee who may have been let go because of the vaccine mandate. Is there any push to hire them and do they have to take the test or can we fast track them to bring them back into the
So I am aware that we have some agents who did not get the vaccine that were posted elsewhere, not inside of the DOE school site. So they're going to be able to retain their jobs and put back into the population. The ones that left, because of the mandate, I believe the same rule applies that the mayor put out. You're able to try again, but it's not necessarily a guarantee.
So there's such a huge need, if you can advocate to bring them directly back into our schools, that would be really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. We support that, and it goes the same for the police officers. We lost a lot of police officers as well because of the mandate. Thank you for that.
Good afternoon, my name is Nana Sakia. I'm very proud to be in this school. Harriet Tubman was about freedom, and we're talking about freeing our young people. I've worked in this community for over 40 years. I worked with Jackie, I worked with Aisha. I used to be called the mother duck because every time when I had Harlem children with me, I would actually, after the after-school program was finished, I would actually walk up and down 5 and 6 floor flights during the crack pandemic, not just dismiss my children in front of Jackie Robinson Park, but to literally walk them home. So I want to know, one of the things that I did with Wingate High School, when I was working with Wingate High School about 20 years ago, was that school safety also involves lunchtime. Because a lot of the young people, they get distracted, that's their time for being free. And one of the things that I did during lunchtime at Wingate High School was to offer the kids who did not really want to eat lunch or wanted to eat lunch and be a part of our lunch hour cultural program. We had martial arts for the kids. And the senseis came and we found that a lot of the young men decided that they were going to discipline themselves, fast for that day, do martial arts, and it changed a lot of the young people. We also had dance classes and theater classes during lunchtime for volunteers. So this also gives them a period of calming, of being creative, of being able to have a chance to open up, to talk to the sensei, to talk to the dance, to talk to the theater. So I just want to know, are we going to be just talking about just after school and safe corridors? Because a lot of things go on during the lunchtime. So we need to have alternatives for these kids during the lunchtime, because that was the most success that I've ever had with the kids, because that's when the fights break out, and they say, well, you wait till 3 o'clock. And then 3 o'clock comes and then you don't have anything. And another thing I want to address, not just to you, and I think Jackie can agree with me, and I know Aisha can agree with me. We got all these new buildings coming up in our community, and there's no place for our young people. I grew up here in Harlem. We had Harley Avenue, we had PAL, we had St. Phillips, we had Concord Avenue Baptist Church. There were places for them to go. Now they're being moved out because other people are coming in and they're not thinking about a community center. But when they build into their community, when they're in their community, they got the resources for basketball, soccer, fields, theaters, everything. So it's not all about policing, and it's not all about safety. It's about culture, it's about arts, it's about the mental health, it's about spirituality. And if you keep pushing the young people back, where they ain't got no place to go, then maybe they won't be upon you. And it's not all of them. And this is what's happening. So I would like for all of y'all to think about lunchtime, corridor, after school, because the kids who are 16 16 and 18, they're not gonna be in the after-school program only to 8 o'clock. That's gonna only fill the time for the children who are like from 3rd grade to maybe 8th grade, and they gotta be in the house by 8 o'clock because their parents are just coming home from school. But what are we gonna do about the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds that, you know, we're not a small town, we don't have a curfew. Small towns and suburban areas have a curfew. Their children must be in at certain times or else they get escorted home. We don't have that. So I think we really need to think more about the arts, more about martial arts, because when I was growing up, there used to be boxing clubs. So if you had a beef with somebody, you went to the boxing club and you boxed it out there, and that's where it ended. So we need to have more of that. So please think more about the safety of our children at lunchtime, after school, and when you're talking about it, think about hiring all of us who are in the arts, like the Sister Angelique, because the word is the word. If you keep building these buildings, and these kids ain't got nowhere to go, baby, please, this is gonna be fire, fire. So let's get together. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very good point about lunchtime. I never thought about that, but that is true. Of course, you never think about that.
No, it's, everything that you said was on point, and I'm seeing what you're seeing, and to your point with martial arts, it's interesting you say that, because we're recovering a record number of dangerous instruments from the young people. And in talking to my staff, I say, damn, why do you gotta carry a knife or OC spray? Why can't you just take a class and, you know, kick somebody's behind the old-fashioned way if you gotta defend yourself, right? But if those resources are not there, how would you know how to box or how to do karate? Somebody has to come and really donate those services, because now you're asking young people to pay for a membership at some school that the parents can't afford. And I'm from this neighborhood, so I'm seeing what you're seeing with kids being pushed out. And then what happens?
This
They're
is
gonna-
something we need to push on Mayor Adams and on our councilmen, on our school
Yes,
districts,
to get the money.
because that's how you get the money.
Yes.
Because these young people, all they seeing on television is bang, bang, shoot, shoot, down, down. And when I hear Sister Aisha, because I grew up here, I never had to take a class to learn what to do if my friend got shot. How not to remove the knife if they got stabbed. These children are facing things at this age that we did not have to face because we were really more protected then. The community was more of a community. If I, you know, there's so much going on, but discipline in the arts, we gotta get money. We gotta open up more boxing gyms. We gotta make sure we got martial arts. Because with the boys, and with the girls, that's what they need. They need to know that they can defend themselves, defend their family, and feel good. Tai Chi, okay, Kung Fu, something soft, not too hard, because they need the meditation. But they're facing things that we never faced. And so, when you see them, and they got this anger, or they got this anxiety, or they got these fears, and they got all this stuff up inside of them that they don't need. I never seen a generation have so much acrimony. How much hate could you have for somebody? You only live 2 seconds in God's time. You're 17, but you want to carry a gun and shoot a kid because they made more points to you at a basketball game. We didn't have that.
That's true,
Okay?
that's
So
true.
that's something that we need to do. We really need to get more money into the arts, into the cultures, and to open up boxing clubs, martial arts, whatever it takes. Because that's where our kids grow. That's what made me grow. I was at Apollo Theater, I had...
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we're running the clock out of time, so, but thank you, no.
Lunchtime.
I'll just get some.
We got it, lunchtime, so we're gonna take our final question now.
Mona, I'm sorry, can I just?
Oh, yes.
But when we recovered the weapons from the kids, we asked them, why did you feel you had to carry this? Kids with no history, kids with no disciplinary problems, they say for protection. And that's sad, because what's the psychology behind that? You would never carry a box cutter, but today you did because you're having problems with so-and-so. And if you use the box cutter, now you're going to jail. There's the article in the Post where they interview kids in Brooklyn, and they ask them, is more cops gonna make you feel better? Some of them are saying no. They said if somebody's gonna do what they wanna do, they're gonna do it anyway. And it happened in Queens, by Campus Magnet High School. The cops were there, and the kid came, he goes to school in Long Island, he's not from there, shoots, hits 2 kids, he got arrested. But what's the psychology behind it, right? What led him to that point? And I'm sorry, Mark, just really quickly, because Mark wanted to add to that too.
Since I'm the permit holder, I'll take the lead. No, man, we hear you loud and clear. We talked a little bit about the Project Pivot Initiative. Just to be perfectly clear, some of those Project Pivot initiatives are happening during the course of the academic day. So some of those folks that you talk about are in the cafeteria doing sports and activity with young people. So we hear you loud and clear, and thank you for that recommendation.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot, Mark, but yeah, he, you know. Okay, so then.
Thank you very much. And I completely agree. The long-term solution is extracurricular activities. We have to get our youth involved in that. That's how I got into school advocacy. Past few months on Community Education Council, it's been issue after issue with parents worried about what's happening. And I know there's been some positive steps. I've heard school security now, or safety agents can now wear bulletproof vests. That's a big step. The state laws have pushed Alyssa's law down. We can have panic alarms installed in all the schools, and hopefully there's been audits on that. I know this is a big week on PEP, where they're voting on for improvements to intercoms and cameras, but most importantly to adding strikes. We have to close our doors, and these. If this gets passed, how quickly can we move towards having our doors where we can actually lock them? Because, you know, we talk about threats on the inside, but we also have threats on the outside. And this is one of the big items that we hear from parents every week. And I know you had a big announcement earlier today. Mark Reck said I was on a call with you, with the chancellor. I understand now we're going to be having every Monday now, where NYPD principals are going to be talking. That's a wonderful step forward. That's collaboration, where you have a weekend to find out what has happened. You share it with the principals. I think that these are wonderful steps, and thank you very much.
That's great. That's great.
Okay, so I see two more questions, and since Mark represents who's the one responsible for us being in the building is okay, we're gonna have initial two pair questions.
Yeah. I think I'm actually going to respond to this gentleman.
Okay.
Ask first. So yes, sir, thank you for being a part of this morning's meeting. We are voting this week on the PEP regarding the door locking system. Worked really hard over the course of the summer and identified a locking system that we believe meets the expectations of our parents, our first responders, and our educators, in order to keep our young people safe. For God's sakes, the other day, a pit bull made its way into the school, right? And that wreaked havoc. But even sort of a more serious incident than a pit bull accessing the building, earlier in the year, the NYPD was giving chase to a bad guy who made his way into the building. When they took him down, he had a firearm in his waist, right? He made his way into a school. Now, I share that story simply with you because while we are doing something about something, there are some other folks on the other side of this conversation who said that our doors should not be locked in schools. But these are the same people who also say that we shouldn't have school safety agents in our schools.
Talk about it.
They are not the people who work in the building.
Right.
Right? So when that vote happens, it's great to hear the voices of those who are not opposed to having our doors locked. right? I'm not advocating the way I know that I have a fundamental obligation to keep young people safe in our schools. And one of the things by which we're hearing from parents, educators, and others is we want the front door of our schools locked. Our first responders are saying, as long as you have a way for us to get in the building in the event that someone needs aid, we don't care what you do with the front door of your schools. Well, we figured out what to do. The same thing that we're doing in housing developments, and the same thing as we're doing in private buildings. We have a two-way intercom system that gives the agents the ability to open the door and communicate with the person knocking at the door in real time. This keeps our agents safe because they've been assaulted a number of times by people who have ill will. At the front desk of our schools, our agents are our first line of defense. And if people are not happy with the fact that they can't enter a New York City public school for one reason or another, the agents are the first line of defense. And in many cases, they're the first people to get assaulted. Right? We want to use a device that will allow our agents to be able to conduct real visitor control. Right? And we are not trying to kick the community out of our school. That is not what we're doing. We are trying to keep those who are looking to do harm in our schools out of our schools.
Good.
Right? So parents, easy access to the school. Yes, there is a time period where you have to stop and the agent is going to ask you, hi, can I help you? Same as they would when you're at the front desk of the school. The difference is they are have the ability to do it while you're standing outside, as opposed to inside the building. We are intentional about ensuring training all of our school safety agents as well as all of our school staff that operate the system to ensure that nobody feels like they're being targeted, singled out in any way, or denied entry to their child. So that vote is in fact happening next week, I believe Wednesday. We do have a couple of prototypes in schools that are being utilized right now. What we're hearing from our agents as well as the educators in the building is that even the parents, that they're excited to have this one-stop shop that will allow for the agents to do true access control without having the person standing right over them. They love it and they want to see it expand. But as I share with you that many people are excited about this technology, there are others who are not excited about us fortifying our schools. And the voices of the people who are for, as well as the people who are against, need to be heard on that day, right? And when you say how soon can the process begin, the sooner we get this vote across, we're starting with our elementary schools first, working our way to middle schools, and then high schools. Elementary, because they obviously have our most vulnerable population of young people, and they all have one single agent in the building. And that agent has multiple responsibilities, and we want to ensure that the agent can do their job with full integrity. So thank you.
John Lee?
Thank you so much, Mona, and all the parents and the panelists. First, I want to say I'm so grateful for Mona's leadership and all the parents' involvement and all the school safety agents' involvement. During the last 2 years, so we fight together so many times. So we got to able to retain the school safety agents under the NYPD. That's a great victory for all the people here because we all believe that the metal detectors and the school safety agents are in the school to protect the students, not to discriminate anybody about it. So the last administration went so wrong, went so progressive, they lost the common sense. I'm so glad that this administration, this DOE, and this mayor come back to the common sense. So I want to thank you so much for the mayor, for the chancellor, and for Mona, and for all the parents here. Thank you. So I'm not done. I have one solid question. I'm pretty sure under this mayor, this chancellor, we will do much better on everything. But one thing I feel that we still have issues is the bullying at school. Just like we was said, the bullying has been getting worse for the last years. And actually, one parent and one student, they were just there this afternoon, Emma Chen and her mom, Winnie. Emma was handcuffed by 4 boys in the playground of junior high school 216 in last summer. Mom reported to the dean, to the chancellor, to the principal, to the superintendent. They didn't do anything. They eventually they gave a report saying there was no bullying at the school. That was the final report. The mom then escalated to the superintendent. to Senator John Lewis' office, and even Senator John Lewis sent staff to support. Even the deputy borough president of Queens also came to support to the rally. The student school didn't do anything. I just briefed that incident to the mayor, Eric Adam, and he asked me, where did that happen? I said, in District 26. He said, where is that? I said, in Visa. He said, he will follow up. And then I can tell you, the parents were going to do lawsuits to the DOE. I want to ask Mark, do you think the parents really need to file a lawsuit to get justice, to get a fair thing for this, or it can be resolved in DOE? I remember last summer, Mona and I, we were in DOE. We were told by the chancellor that there was a portal, right? There was like a report portal, incident portal. I'm sure many parents didn't know that, so maybe we can remember that. But I asked Winnie, she said they use the portal already. So that was just one example. In District 26, School District 26, for the last year, I received, I think it's 3 or 4 complaints from parents saying basically arguments between the parents and the school principal. The school principal, regarding like bully, like Emma, or something like that. All arguments between the students and the teachers, so which the parents think their students were unfairly treated. So I want to ask, is there a way for the parents to get that resolved within the DOE, not having to go to a lawsuit? So that's my question. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you for your statements, and to address your first statement, you're right. I think now with our mayor, our chancellor, our police commissioner, the stars are lined up for school safety to improve even more, and to be able to see the next iteration of school safety. But in regards to bullying, it obviously is an unfortunate phenomenon that happens with young people, and for some reason, some young people feel that it's okay to do that. I believe that education is a huge component to that, and just orienting them that this behavior is not okay. Our community outreach unit, CO Barbara Welch and the team, they just developed a sociodrama that is very interactive for young people. It's not just a PowerPoint presentation with slides where we're speaking at the kids, we're doing it with them. They're able to actively participate, and it's really ingrained in them why these behaviors are not okay, because they lead to serious issues. It goes much more than just feeling senses of fear. Some kids are taking their lives as a result of being oppressed this way in their school communities. But as far as the other mechanisms within the DOE, I'll pass it up to Mark. But I would really like to be able, for our team, to go to this school. If you, the parents, and the administration, go into it and go do the sociodrama, it's very fun, it's a big hit, it's popular. We're getting more and more schools that want to see it, and we'd love to be a part of that, to showcase it for you.
And outside of what the chief is sharing in terms of that resource, we also have people who are hired within the DOE, New York City Public Schools, to do training on anti-bullying. So it'd be great to hear more about where this is happening in any school where this is happening. Outside of
anti-bullying.
And outside of that, sir, you briefly talked about the portal of which was created, and I want to make sure that we are perfectly clear here. 2 things. Every single one of our New York City public schools is obligated to have a respect for all liaison. That respect for all liaison is responsible for ensuring that every one of our young people have someone who they can go to if they're bullied or harassed for any reason. That's number 1. Number 2, you talked briefly about the portal. I asked Commanding Officer Welch to go into my car to get something that I really want to hand out to the parents here in the room, because there is a way by which parents can report bullying without going into the school. And I will say that again, without going to school. Right? We created a QR code and a handout card for parents who are not happy with the responses that they're getting from schools. Every one of our schools are trained to investigate bullying properly. It is transparent. Parents can report bullying directly from their cell phone, and it goes on to the school's ORS reporting system. Our ORS report system, ORS, online occurrence reporting system, is our only Department of New York City Public Schools state recognized system. Okay? And this is where principals report the incidents that are reported in schools. Well, parents have the ability to report the incident without going into the principal first and foremost. The principal is required to go through a certain number of steps. A, they have to make immediate notification to the parent that they are in receipt of their complaint. They have to tell the parent what the findings of the investigation are. And if in fact it is substantiated, there has to be a safety plan for that young person who was in fact bullied, right? And a safety transfer is not an automatic option, right? But here's what we need to keep in mind. Every young person has an obligation to attend New York City public school, right? And so the recourse that many of our parents want is they want the bully out of the school, right? And there's a discipline code that schools follow as it relates to all infractions in school. And every young person has a right to due process. That due process allows that young person to be heard and disciplined according to the discipline code, right? So when we hear, well, my child was bullied and I want the bully out of the school, I want nothing less than that, we understand that, right? And we have all kinds of supports and services for that young person who is being bullied. And usually what happens is the bully was bullied. Right? Hurt people, right? And so some of the work that needs to be done is housed in the school, but a lot of the work is done at the home. I'm going to grab those cards because obviously commanding officer couldn't find it, but I would like Mona, or I'm going to hand you the cards and you can hand out to the parents. There's a QR code on this card, and you can report bullying directly from your cell phone. That goes, it's not a message to the principal. It's not a message to the superintendent. It's a message directly into their ORS system, online occurrence reporting system. And the principal gets an alert to say bullying has been reported at your school. And you have to now, the clock has now started to run. The superintendent also gets the same alert to say a bullying complaint has been administered on behalf of the school. The clock is running now. You have to do what you have to do to ensure an adequate and accurate investigation occurs, and a safety plan for the student, and disciplinary action for the student who is accused of bullying. All right, so I'm going to grab those cards for you to make sure we're able to hand out to parents, but it's unfortunate that parents are not aware of the work that has been done within the system to ensure that there are ways by which parents can report bullying without going to the principal, and there are even steps to go when a parent's not satisfied with the outcome. You're not going to be 100% satisfied because the outcome is always, I want the other kid out of the building, I want them gone, right? The outcome is in line with the discipline code. Here we go.
Thank you. So,
hello, my name is Irene Estrada, and as Jackie Rose said, I run the Bronx. So I'm here to share with you, I've been in the Parents Association since 1982, and I'm still a PTA at my grandson's school, both of their different schools. The reason I'm sharing this with you is that they talk about a budget for the school safety officers. They start at $35,000, and then go through a whole process to hire, a whole process to train them, and a whole process to decide how many dancing nickels they're going to throw at them, right? So this is what we're going to do as parents. We have an accountability to every child in New York City, the 5 boroughs. When we merge together as parents, the parent has the power in each school. The parent. When these youth go home and tell their parents that we need school safety agents and they need to attend PTAs, the PTA has power, but many times PTAs lean more towards what the principal wants. So the empowerment is always going to be the parents. The parents need to start writing letters. They need to start collecting data from your school. You have 1 school safety or 2 school safety agents, and you say, excuse me, when you do the school budget, I want to hire 2 more school safety agents at $40,000 a piece. Now, when you raise that money yourselves on the budget, they cannot say no. Number 1, I will be very clear with those who are in charge of the budget. When you sit down and negotiate, call me. I will remind whoever's doing the budget that if you have time to give $90,000 per refugee, I'm the national activist for immigration, and I know. $90,000 per refugee, and then you lose them, but you're not accountable for the money. That's one. And number two, when you take a look at the budget, I want them to tell me, why hasn't anybody gone after de Blasio's wife with $100 million, $900 million she stole? That's number two. Number three, I'm an activist, and I'm going to tell you how it is. I get pissed off because our children are our gems and our diamonds, and the Bible calls us our treasure. We're supposed to protect our treasure, and they're getting shot and killed in the streets. Well, let me tell you something. I'm a minister, and I'm going to tell whoever's in charge of the budget. And I'll show you a film a minute, so I hope you hear this. Our children, there is no price on the value of their life. I am a minister to the women who lose their children. 24 hours around the clock, they're calling me. They're depressed, they're suicidal, they cannot take it, they need comfort, they need children. They go to empty rooms without their children. I don't want no one to walk out of here and be in the same condition that they're in. They say condition rises up a nation, but a condition in the mother raises up lions and wolves. Are we angry enough to take the streets? Are we angry enough to ban behind Mona? Are we angry enough to follow me as crazy as I run the Bronx? You know why? Because the accountability to a baby, to a child, has no value. And if our New York State does not care about killing a child at 9 months coming out of an abortion, what do you think they're going to care about your child that is going to school and walking back home? So your legislators have ignored all of us. So don't call them. Run against them. Don't call them. Protest in front of their offices. Tell them to resign. Because if you don't get money from my school and pay them $40,000 a year as starting salary, then you have no business representing my school, my district, my community, or the businesses. Because you know what? It starts with a child. Community, business, parents, grandmothers and grandfathers, and the elders. You don't want to respect the elders? But come when it's time to vote, who do they go after? The senior vote. So let's educate the people in our community. Ignore them, throw away their garbage, all the emails, all the flyers that they send to you. You have the power in you. They can say that you have resources, they don't have enough resources, they don't have enough resources. Excuse me, if you have money, $90,000 per every immigrant, I want that $90,000 per child in every single school, because if you don't do that, you know what's going to happen? Mrs. Strada's going to boycott everybody and anybody at City Hall, whether I do it by myself or with the millions that's going to be behind me. The message is this. Whoever's in charge of hiring these particular school safety agents, black and brown women, who fight for our kids 24 hours around the clock, and they go outside the streets in the community, they need to start a cap at $40,000. That's number one. Number two, healthcare. They have to make sure they have good provision in healthcare. And number three, you need any help, I will negotiate. It's called We Don't Negotiate. We're the parents. So if you're in agreement with me, say amen and thank you. Okay, so thank you. Thank you, Irene. Yes, Irene dropped the mic. Like she said, she's from the Bronx. So I want to thank our panelists for joining us today. I want to thank everybody that came today. I want to thank everyone that is so here today. You care, we all care. Like Mark Reynolds has said, it's a collaborative effort. It takes a village to raise a child. I'm going to give the mic now to another founding member of the coalition, my sister, my mentor, Jackie Rowe Adams, who is going to close us out.
You're definitely my mentor too. Let me say, have this been a great day? Has this been a wealth of information? Yes, it has been. And to close it out, I want to thank, and we would be remiss, and we can say it 1,000 times, thank you, Mona Davis, for reaching out to so many people to make this a success. You know, I love school safety. They are some of the best and they are overlooked and underpaid. So today, not only today, we've been talking about it, but I think they hear you. So we should have said that when Mayor Adams was here. But he left, but don't worry, the word will get back because they talked to him. So let me do this because we must go. Thank you, all the agencies that participate. I can't go through the names. All the people that participate, all the young people that participate. I can say thank you to Explorers, TAG. The young people was awesome. Give them a hand. Awesome. And I want to tell you, get home in time to see this on the 6 o'clock news because it's important. Yes, it is. The media, Mona, youth and school safety and family, thank the media. The media was out there big time. Yes. And so, Mona is media herself. And I'm going to tell you, we had some great questions here today. Yes, but I want to thank the panel again, every panel that was up there. And once again, David Banks. He is the chancellor. So when y'all see the chancellor, say thank you, Chancellor Banks. And kids, let's stop the violence. Let's help each other. You got the message today. And we're saying that, and we have some beautiful, smart kids in here. We're saying that this is only the first, Mona working on the second. Yes. And that's so important, Mona. So, good afternoon, everybody. Not